Hey guys, welcome to Shot of Culture, Pop and Culture's one-off podcast. My name's Adrian. I'm here to do a quick little thing to talk to you about DC deck building. But before we get into that, as customary, my shot. It's going to be a little different than usual. I would prefer whiskey, but unfortunately I got a lot of work left to do today. So today's shot is going to be of espresso. Coffee was my first love long before comic books, long before whiskey and beer. I've loved coffee ever since. I spent a lot of time brewing my coffee in the morning, grinding it, everything else. So this is espresso I just made off of my manual espresso machine. So it's if you go to Starbucks, you would call it a doppio con panna. It's about a little bit of whipped cream and then 2 shots of espresso on top. So I'll be sipping this while we talk about DC deck building. So, DC deck building game. They just released their new Rivals set, and before we get into that, I want to talk about the other games they have out and this new one. So starting off, DC deck building game is like any other deck building game. You start off with weaker cards and you build and build and build to have a stronger deck to defeat, in this case, the villains. It's your typical super villains. The first box set was released with the Justice League. So you play as characters, as the Justice League, going against supervillains. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. The second game that was released was Heroes United, which was the same concept, same game, but with the second string heroes. So you have people like Hawkman, you have people like Nightwing, Batgirl, still prominent names in DC, but you would consider them the second tier villains. I'm sorry, second tier heroes. Maybe I should have a little more coffee, huh? So after that, they released the expansion, Crisis. Crisis adds a completely different difficulty level to this game, making it a lot more complex. It is an expansion pack, so you need one of the base sets to play it, either Heroes United or the regular DC deck building. I would say about a month ago, maybe 6 to 7 weeks, they released Forever Evil, where for those of you who are DC comic fans, you remember the story arc Forever Evil, and this is kind of the DC deck building card game version of that. So you have this time to play as the villains. The heroes replaced the villain deck before, so it's kind of positions swapped. It's a little bit of different gameplay than the original two. You have to destroy more cards, you're a little bit more destructive, which makes sense because you're playing the villains, but if you're not familiar with the game mechanics, it can be a little bit weird. This brings us to the newest one that's out, the one I'm going to talk about today, DC Deck Building Rivals, Batman vs. Joker. I really liked this game. Now, as a friend of mine had mentioned when we played it, he also liked it, maybe not as much as I did, but he had a really good point. If I'm going to play the game, I'm going to play the whole game. Like, this version is more compact, it's smaller, and it only takes about 20 minutes to play. I really see the benefit in this is if you're having a game day, and you have a bunch of friends over, you have a couple different games going. So if, let's say for instance, you got one game going on here, one game going on there, a couple people have to wait for another game to start, this is where you would probably want it to go. So DC deck building is great for that avenue, at least the Rivals is. You play Batman versus Joker, that's it. It's 2 players, it's small, but it's a lot of fun. The mechanics stay the same, the cards are different, they are limited specifically for this game, but all in all, it's a lot of fun and I'd recommend you guys checking it out.